Well, how's everybody doing today? Wanted to talk a little about these Thermoil engines. I've got, I guess, 4 of them. I sold a few of them. But anyway, this is a 7-horse Model UA. The UAs all had a regular drip oil up. The Model U's had a Detroit lubricator on the back, nice and oily. And that was a problem area of the early ones. They were known to plug up and stop working and cause the cylinders to run a little dry. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is this injector. Now, you talk to people and they'll tell you that these are not a true diesel engine. And the thought process on that is that a diesel engine has a timed ignition sequence and it's delivered into the cylinder under high pressure, whether it be a mechanical force or an air blast. Excuse me. Now, these here put the fuel into an intake cup, or a pre-cup I should say. By pushing this lever down, it'll dump fuel in. Just enough, not a whole lot, so that it, you know, once it's running, it doesn't really knock unless you really call for fuel. But it goes into that pre-cup and it will flash the lighter parts of the fuel, make an explosion in the pre-cup. And that explosion drives the rest of the fuel into the cylinder. No different, it's using a hot gas to do the injection, no different than an air blast. Is it mechanically timed? Well, it kind of is. The timing is all regulated by the size of the holes in the pre-cup. So if this engine is up to speed, reasonably close to where it's supposed to operate, there's a predetermined injection timing. I think they're a full diesel. In my mind, I can see it as a full diesel. They're 16-to-1 compression, and they start good. I mean, they run good. Well, I don't have any water in it, but I'll give it a quick start and go through the sequence, show you how it's done. So for those of you unfamiliar with these, this is your decompression. That holds your intake open just a little bit. This here is your rocker arm that opens your intake valve and also your fuel valve. They're all one and the same, just a hole in the middle of the seat for the fuel. The actual metering needle is under here, and that is operated by this hand wheel. You screw this all the way up and it's high speed. You screw it down and it slows it down. You know, exhaust, intake, fuel pump underneath. I'll actually give you a quick look at that. I'll give it a couple of quick, just to make sure we got fuel up there in the injector. I can hear the balls rattling, so I'm assuming it's pumping. I put the exhaust out because I don't want it to fill my garage full of smoke. I just ran it the other day. I'm not going to go all over it with oil because I'm only going to run it for just a few seconds. And we'll see here if we can see how this all works. Get you guys lined up. So the book says give 8 to 10 smart revolutions. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see that, good. And what we'll do is we will give it 8 or 10 smart revolutions, throw the decompression down, and we will see if it'll go. I'm gonna hold this rocker down just for a second, just to put some fuel in the cylinder, or in the pre-cup. It's a little stiff, but there, that's more than plenty. Come on. And it didn't go. Huh. Let's try one more time. should go.
I don't know if you can see that, but this whole thing rocks up and down. Everything's moving enough, it's hard to see it. The intake on a bead is right here, or a thermoil. Goes in around the valve. This here's how you slow it down. And I am running regular diesel fuel in this. They run a little better on kerosene. You don't get as much smoke. But that's an unrestored model UA 7 horsepower. Right in its working clothes. Came out of a woodworking shop. See the sawdust? Right full of sawdust. So it definitely ran a woodworking shop. Came out of Stonington on the coast. So it's got beautiful pinstriping, but the guy that I bought it off, he weren't too careful with the paint. And to shut them off, you know, you can screw the fuel down, shut it off, and then, you know, you can dump it open if you want it to coast without dumping on the crank. But these here, it don't really matter. They're rugged enough, they'll handle it. But they are 16-to-1, and if they ain't got all the squeeze, they're not gonna run. Because they need, yeah, not even very hot. I'd say the cylinder's probably 110 degrees or so. It's amazing how cold they run. But, yeah. So that is a 7 horse Thermoil. I got 2 6s and a 9 down in the basement. I will tell you one thing about them, kind of interesting. On one of my 6s, I changed the head gasket out. The head gasket that I put on was 15 thousandths thicker than the sheet of copper that they had on it. They had a sheet of copper. I didn't have nothing that thick. Nothing that thin, rather. So, you know, the engine had, it always started, I've started it at engine shows at 32 degrees. You know, frost on the vehicles. And it would always start with no gasoline on a rag. I mean, it's got wrist pin scores right down the side of the cylinders, and it'll still start in the cold. I don't understand it, but... So anyway, I put that head gasket and moved that head out 15 thousandths, and it wouldn't even offer to fire with a rag with gas on it. It just would not run. So I made a 15 thousandths shim, put right there between the connecting rod and the bearing, to put the compression where it was. I just moved the piston up the hole a little bit. First time over. Took right off and runs, and it'll start down 30, 32 degrees. I never see nothing like it. So, you know, if you buy one of these and it won't run, you know, they got to have all the squeeze they're supposed to have on that air. If they don't, they will not run. This one here, somebody has bolted the clutch together internally, and it won't, you know, that'll move, but none of the other stuff, you know, you can't pull it in and out. I'd like to fix that at some point when I have time, but it's not a priority. So anyway, that's my opinion on the Thermoils. I like them. The only size on the big models that I don't have is the 8, which is the same size as the 9. It's just before they re-rated them. Yeah, this here, the serial numbers, nobody's got the serial number list, which is unfortunate. Because that right there's your serial number. You can see it says 7 horsepower. You can also see that it says model U, or number U. That's all it had. And even late into the models, they never did put a UA on them. But the only thing that distinguishes the A is when they moved them to the lubricator on the water hopper instead of on the back. That mechanical one that ran through the back of the hopper and then down into the cylinder, like I say, it's a lot of trouble. So anyway, short video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it might have been a little insightful for you. If your injector isn't plumbed up when you buy it, I will make sure I can hang on to that all right. Yeah. I'll show you a little bit about this. So it comes out of the tank, down at the bottom. Comes up to the bottom of the fuel pump. Comes out, goes into the bottom of the injector. This here just dumps back down, goes into this T that's the return to the tank. So that anything, this pumps all the time. There's no pressure in this system at all. The only pressure you have going into that cylinder is what, you know, what, 2 inches of fluid, 3 inches of fluid height, because, you know, that fluid goes down in by the needle down inside. You probably got 3 inches of fluid height on top of the needle. And then it comes out here and it's got a hole for the atmospheric pressure. And that's how it is. They're very, very simple to, you know, run the plumb into. And really, they're not very troublesome. A lot of people would make you think so, but sometimes you have to clean the carbon out of the injection cup, but that's if you run them a lot. Anyway, this is all it's going to be, guys. I hope it was insightful to some of you, and we'll see you on the next one. Don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe, and